G'day everyone, I'm Darius Pachitskas and I'm a professional poker player. I may not have a PhD, but I have something just as valuable, a first-hand experience of the Dunning-Kruger effect in action. So I know by the end of this video, you'll feel like an expert. In 2012, I dropped out of high school with the dreams of becoming a professional poker player, and you know what? I did it. I played some of the highest stakes available, won hundreds of thousands of dollars, and helped hundreds of clients to find success to break through to new levels in their own games. My journey was a wild ride through the peaks and valleys of the Dunning-Kruger effect. I've been through it all. The dizzying heights of Mount Ignorance, where I went broke more times than I can count, and I spent more than my fair share of time in the Valley of Despair, where I realized just how much I still had left to learn. It took me years of exhausting myself racing up the Slope of Enlightenment before I understood how to make steady progress. And now, I'm here to share my story and some key lessons I've learned along the way. Whether you're a student, a professional, or just someone looking to learn a new skill, understanding the Dunning-Kruger effect can be a game changer. In this video, we'll explore the 4 key stages of the Dunning-Kruger effect, using my poker journey as a guide to help you bridge the gap between confidence and competence in your own field. Up, confidence. Across, competence. So confidence peaks and you find yourself at the peak of Mount Ignorance. This is unconscious incompetence. You don't know much, and you don't know what you don't know. Confidence is at an all-time high. We think our surface level knowledge is the whole picture. I experienced this firsthand when I put my first deposit online. I thought I'd done all the research I needed. I'd watched every episode of High Stakes Poker and Poker After Dark so I could see how best of the best played the game. It all made perfect sense to me. Thought it was set. Load up the tables, run some bluffs, post some bad beats on 2+2, and wait for Tom Dwyer to take me under his wing. Started winning immediately, and I was broke within a week. The danger of Mount Ignorance is not knowing what we don't know. Risky when it comes to gambling or stunt driving, but no big deal when it comes to making your first YouTube video or yelling at a football match. Remember, the higher the stakes, the more competence matters, the harder the fall when reality comes knocking. How the fuck do I get down from here? Then we find ourselves falling down into the Valley of Despair. My girlfriend hates when I go in there. This is conscious uncompetence. Now you realize that there's a lot you don't know. Picture this. You're a bright-eyed, rose-cheeked 18-year-old basement dweller. You're ready to take the online poker world by storm. Then reality hits you like Mike Tyson's right hook.
Why? Oh yeah, I was just such a normal teen.
Is that pi out then?
That is pi, yeah. That's all the pi I'd memorized.
So, let me take you back to 2014, when I got my first PokerStars account. Armed with a whopping $100 bankroll, I set my eyes on the $3.50 buy-in heads-up hypers. I was feeling invincible, so I threw out my carefully crafted bankroll management plan and moved up to the $7 games. I kept running hot, but then as quickly as I began, my heater came to a screeching halt. Suddenly I was running unbelievably bad, and my bankroll dwindled to a measly $160. But did I learn my lesson? Of course not. I decided a brilliant solution was to move up even higher to the $30 games and get rich or die trying. Spoiler alert, I didn't get rich. I bust my entire roll and had the audacity to call myself a bankroll fish, as if not having more money was the only thing holding me back from crushing the highest stakes. Luckily, I had the foresight to document my misadventures in a blog, and the poker community was more than happy to give me a much-needed reality check. I repeated this cycle of overconfidence and despair 4 or 5 times before learning to stick to proper bankroll management, no matter how my emotions tried to steer me astray. Looking back, it's clear that I was searching for shortcuts and harboring unrealistic expectations. I convinced myself that all I needed was more experience and better luck, but in reality, I needed to confront the emotional obstacles that were causing me to gamble beyond my means. I had to stop making excuses for myself and start asking the tough questions. Why was I so focused on advanced theory when I was still messing up the basics? What good was overthinking doing me? Why was it so hard for me to review my hands and learn from my mistakes? Eventually, I took the feedback reality was giving me and stopped punting my roll to stronger competition at high stakes. Hey look, there goes that Dunning-Kruger effect again. Then we begin to climb the slope of enlightenment, conscious competence. We're starting to actually really know what we're doing, but it still takes a lot of effort to sustain it and build upon it. So we've arrived at the bottom of the slope of enlightenment. I'm just gonna walk in circles for a while. Everything changed when I realized I needed mentorship. I'd gone as far as I could on my own. For some reason, no one around me wanted to back me to play full-time online poker, even though I was making $4 an hour grinding Magic the Gathering. Self-coaching is like self-therapy, but with more why on God's green earth did you call there and a lot less how did it make you feel. At this point in my life, I was an eternal recluse who ate nothing but baked beans on toast. So I scoped out potential mentors and coaches, listened to the advice of people who were taking an approach that I wasn't so familiar with, like hearing these people online saying that my approach wasn't going to work out.
When I took that to heart and started applying it, I felt different. I saw a shift. I saw my results starting to change. And I managed to actually turn a corner and stop going broke every week. People started showing up, opportunities started showing up. When it became a breeze, when I wasn't constantly stressed out, my results started to improve. I sent out 100 applications to potential CFPs. One of them said yes, so game on. Thanks to my mentors, I started to see the game in a whole new light. Poker wasn't about flashy plays or hero calls. It was making fundamentally sound decisions consistently and relentlessly. So I'm playing a simple, solid game that took advantage of my opponent's tendencies and invited them to make the mistakes that they were bound to make eventually. So when I wasn't constantly exhausted and I was able to actually do this consistently, I didn't find myself compensating so much with fancy plays and trying to be brilliant when all I had to be was consistently good. In the pit of despair and falling back into the pit of despair is when your confidence takes a hit. When your confidence isn't building, you start to feel like just doing the consistent stuff that seems to work for everyone else won't be enough. Either you feel like you can't do that, or you've tried, or it takes more energy than it takes other people. And so you try to do something else, so you keep hopping from system to system. It was a tough pill to swallow to realize after hopping from those systems and not getting better, that I actually had to kind of go back to square one, go back to basics. So having mentors to hold me accountable for that, when my confidence would drop, I'd fall into my sort of reactive state of trying to change everything. And they could just remind me like, man, you might have gone off track here specifically. You can work on these specific things. But the game hasn't changed. Your potential hasn't changed. The other players haven't changed. That's just variance, man. Stay the course. Being able to stick that course, especially in poker, when you're getting that wicked feedback. Overall, like, your responsibility is just to keep putting one foot in the other and doing the work. That's hard to do. Most people don't do that. There's a lot of obstacles to that. Dunning-Kruger effect, namely one of them, creating this sort of bubble, this like moat of like low status, where if you want to be pushing the envelope, if you want to be like playing up, moving up the stakes rapidly, you're always going to be running into that limit. Or at some point you're going to run into that limit where you're not sure if what you're doing isn't working, or if you're just getting unlucky. And I think how you respond to that determines everything, both in the short and long term. Once I took on this less is more approach, which is like a weight lifted off my shoulders and everything got a lot easier, I no longer felt like I had to do more than everybody else. I stopped trying to maximize the brilliance of my play, or how many hours I played in a day, or how much complexity I could handle in my strategy, and I focused on doing the simple, consistent stuff right. I focused on reinforcing what was working and getting really specific about what wasn't working. This is a lot easier with mentors who can point you in the right direction and cut through some of that noise, answer some of these questions for you. In my case, I really needed people to make up for my lack of confidence when confidence was low. I needed people to tell me like, yeah, you got kicked today, but we're going to be here for you, and pick back up tomorrow, you know? You're allowed to fail, learn from that, and move forward. I needed that permission. When I was on my own, it felt like I constantly had to prove that I had what it took. I had to sort of prove that I was above mistakes, that I knew what I was doing, because deep down I sort of knew that I didn't. I know that now. I know that I still don't really know what I'm doing. I just know better than before. I'm relatively experienced. I make relatively good decisions, and I still just strive to do that better and better over time. But until I clarified what that process of refining learning even looked like, I was completely rudderless, completely lost. I didn't even know where to begin. So that's what mentorship did for me. It just set me on course, said, here's exactly what you do day to day. Put all of your attention, all of your focus, all of this drive in these lanes. Stick with it until you reach the point where you want to be, where now you can confidently call yourself like an established professional. And then from there, if you need more complexity, if you need to challenge the wisdom of these players who are more successful than you, you'll either have the tools to do that or realize that you don't actually need to.
Finally, we approach the Plateau of Sustainability. This is unconscious competence. Now, without even trying, we sort of intuitively know what we're doing. These days, my life looks quite a bit different than the swings of my early career, but the game fundamentally stays the same. Instead of fretting over every micro decision, I stay focused on the big picture. Most days, I wake up at a reasonable hour, grab myself a coffee and a pile of eggs, and sit down to play a focus session. When I first set my sights on poker and realized I wasn't going to be an overnight prodigy, my goal was to make $10 an hour so my mum would stop telling me to get a real job. I've since enjoyed opportunities to make more than 100 times that, and realized money is not the same thing as true wealth. Dollars EV is not life EV. There's more to life than maximizing my own. Good games at high stakes aren't always available, and they don't need to be. Opportunities for outsized returns come and go, so it's a lot more about staying in shape when those opportunities do come up. Studying the same stuff reaches a point of diminishing returns, so I spend a lot of my time coaching, traveling, and enjoying the freedom that the game's afforded to me, which is why I got into it to begin with. If I'm playing at a higher level than ever before, I know the game's always evolving. The moment I think I've got it all figured out is the moment I start to slip. It's so important to approach each session with a beginner's mindset. I'm not afraid to question my assumptions, challenge my beliefs, and learn from players who might be younger or less experienced than me. I know that the key to long-term success is a commitment to lifelong learning, the process that got me here in the first place.
Yeah. So, here's what $75 worth of food in Vegas looks like. This was a $26 jumbo shrimp. It's about $10 a shrimp. Money's not everything. Even in Vegas, I suppose that's theoretically true. Where are they? They are certainly jumbo. Jenny doesn't want to miss a hand with this guy.